Mike, what factored into your decision to retire at this time?
It's time, Peter. It's time for me to move on. I had actually planned last year to make that decision, but COVID put a little bit of a strain on that whole decision, and it's actually worked out well with everything that transpired. Me being able to stick around and help Mike transition into his job. He had his hands full enough, and with everything else that transpired, it was a little bit difficult. But for me, it's time.
How difficult will it go from being as busy as you've been to retirement? Will you be semi-retired, retired? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've given a lot of thought, and when you're running at 100 miles an hour, it's tough to just stop. So I think it'll be probably more like semi-retired. I've got a small consulting business of my own, and I'm available for various projects and things that could potentially crop up. So I'll semi-retire.
Travel in your plans at all?
Well, travel is definitely in my plans. I think right after I complete my contract at the end of June, I think the first thing I'm going to do is hit the road and take a vacation and try to decompress a little bit before I figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
I was writing the intro to this story, and it hit me that Michael Gallagher was the town administrator during the two most significant changes in North Attleboro government. The passage finally of an override, and then a whole new form of government.
Yep.
Have you thought back to those two moments?
I have, and I've been blessed and fortunate to have been part of all of that, and have been able to contribute to it. Some of my background that I had in working in Weymouth certainly positioned me to be able to help out the town through those first few months anyway of the transition to a new form of government as the acting town manager, and then certainly being an outsider, and the first outsider in a while to be the town administrator, I think helped a lot with hearing the same things from someone else with a different set of eyes who hadn't been involved in the town before, as part of that whole override discussion that we were having. It was a different viewpoint and a different commentary from someone that wasn't really part of the town, if you will.
You mentioned COVID. Mike Borg, 1 week in, everything shuts down. He'd be the first to admit that budget-wise, you being here was a big plus. Budget override. Where would North Attleboro be right now had it not been for the override?
Had it not been for the override, the town would be in a very, very different position than it is. We were able to put a lot into our stabilization account over the last couple of years. We've budgeted very conservatively over the last few years. It was something that I set out to do coming in here in 2015, and putting all those processes in place and doing the right things with the money that we had, I think has positioned the town very well. Our bond rating's gone up. We were on the brink of going under, if you will, in a number of different ways. And I think had we not done that, the town would be really hurting at this stage because of everything that's going to go on. And the next couple of years are going to be even more challenging, because the last two budget seasons, fiscal year 21 that we're currently in, and even 22, the state has dipped into its reserves to try to balance the budget for the state and to help the cities and towns, but that's not going to last. It can't. So I would envision that fiscal year 23 and 24 are going to be even more challenging, and I think the town is positioned well long-term to be able to sustain anything that might happen to it. So I'm very pleased with the way that's all worked out.
And during these challenging times, how key is it that the town moved to this new form of government?
I think it was imperative. I think the town, having moved to the new form of government, was able to withstand the changes and the challenges of COVID a lot better than some of the other communities that had to still hold their town meetings and had to still try to figure out how they were going to get a budget passed. We were able to do it much better than other communities. A lot of communities did the 1/12th budget thing that the state was recommending, and we didn't have to do that. We were able to actually put together a true budget for fiscal year 21, and we're in the process of putting together a very very well thought out budget for fiscal year 22.
Have you thought at all about what you're going to miss about this job?
Yeah, there's a lot I'm going to miss. I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy the work. I enjoy the challenges. Not a big fan of all the politics, but that is part of the job, and being in the public sector, that's what it is. But I love doing what I do, and I've met a lot of really nice people in this town, and I've really enjoyed working with a great number of people in North Attleboro. So I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss having a place to go every day, with a different challenge.